Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! This happened just yesterday, so my house has really high brush around it and my parents were tired of it, so we rented a push hog. About 3 or so hours into the clearing of our property and burning stuff in a large fire pit, a tree hugger appears randomly on our private property. It is loud, so no one noticed until she said something. "What are you all doing? You're murdering nature." "I'm sorry, what?" "Having to stop the weed eater." "You are murdering nature." "No, we're just clearing up our property because of the pandemic. Now leave because we are on social distancing." "Not until you stop." Then she notices a fire. "You people are trying to turn this into Australia?" "No, we're not. There is a ditched dog around it and we are taking precautions." My mom tells her, "Leave before we call the cops." Karen picks up the shovel that was next to her and charges at me. And my brother tackles her to the ground and says, "Do not ever touch him, you jerk." "Assault! Someone get him! This is illegal!" My mom tells him, "Hey, get off the witch." My brother gets off but makes sure he took the shovel away from her and goes back to the burn pile. "I am calling the police. You are disturbing the peace here." My dad's stepping in now. "Ma'am, we live at least a half a mile from anyone, so please leave us." This went back and forth until the cops arrived. "Thank God these people kidnapped me and tried to burn me." "Bro, from 40 feet away? Nonsense. This witch came onto our property. Look at her car." Her car was parked at the edge of our property. "Ma'am, just leave." The first cop tells her. "No, they are breaking the law here. They need to be arrested, every single one of them." "There is nothing really we can do here. There is nothing even slightly illegal here. Everything they are doing is on their property." "Oh really? They tried to rape me too." The cop asks my dad, "Sir, is there any security cameras here?" "Yes, we do have cameras because of our 5 dogs." "Can we see it?" "Yes, you will see that he assaulted me," pointing at my brother. Again, this went back and forth until the cop came back with scuffs out. "Ma'am, put your hands behind your back. The reason we live far from everyone is because of stuff like this. My parents bought a large property and we just have a kinda long driveway, but the rest of the neighborhood is close together. Basically, my parents were smart and lived away from people. Eventually, the tow company came and hauled their car off the property." Thanks for listening. I was sitting in my wheelchair holding my precious baby. I was out running errands with my husband, enjoying the warm sunshine on my face. My daughter, who was just a few weeks old, was asleep in my arms, and I was relishing the moment, feeling grateful for her and for the love and support of my family and friends. But my peaceful day was interrupted by a woman named Karen. She approached me with a shopping bag in one hand and her own child in the other while my husband was still inside the store finishing up. She said, "Oh, what a cute baby. Can I hold it?" And without waiting for my response, she snatched my baby out of my arms and handed it to her own child to hold. I was shocked and upset, my heart racing as I saw my child being taken away from me without any warning. I broke down and started to scream, tears streaming down my face as I reached out for my baby. But Karen didn't seem to care. Karen looked at me with disdain and replied, "Well, my child needs to learn how to hold a baby." But I'm not one to back down, especially when it comes to the safety and well-being of my child. I stood up for myself and said, "That may be true, but that doesn't give you the right to take my baby without my permission. And besides, your child isn't even interested in holding the baby. It is not a toy to be passed around." Just as I was speaking, my husband came running out of the store, having been alerted by some concerned shoppers who saw what was happening. He rushed over to Karen's child and carefully took my baby out of their hands, handing her back to me with a look of fury on his face. He then turned to Karen and nearly lost it, holding her where she was and preventing her from leaving until the cops arrived. He had called the cops and they arrived on a spot and eventually arrested Karen with the testimony of some of the witnesses. My husband then came to me and hugged me and our baby, checking if we were okay. He held me as I cried, feeling the overwhelming relief and love for my child. But I decided to direct one last message to her as the cops were taking her away in handcuffs. I said, "I don't know what you were thinking of snatching a stranger's baby from her, but you should have asked for my permission first and respected my boundaries. Your actions caused me distress and it's not okay to take someone else's baby without their consent. Not only that, but it's also not safe to take a baby from a stranger. What if my baby had any allergies or health conditions? And also, it is not fair to assume that you can just take my baby because you want your child to learn how to hold one." Anyways, I couldn't help but feel grateful for my husband's quick thinking and for the support of the people around us. I hope that Karen learned from this incident and that she will be more considerate of others in the future. Just because someone has privilege, it doesn't give them the right to take advantage of people. And also, everyone's needs and feelings should be respected. This happened a few hours ago and I'm still not sure how someone working delivery can be so unaware of his own actions and be so mean. Names have been changed to protect the innocent, except the entitled jerk that caused all of this. Screw that guy. My brother and I like to hang out at a game store near where we live, primarily to play Dungeons and Dragons on the weekend. And sometimes, by which I mean often, we order food for ourselves when we play. Today I ran a session for a long-running campaign at the store, so my brother decided to get some dinner for us. He placed 2 orders, Wendy's for me and Five Guys for him. Both arrived before us, which wasn't a big deal. The Wendy's driver left the bag on the counter and left, but the Five Guys driver just stood there in front of the counter and waited for my brother to arrive. When we enter, the Five Guys driver, Ethan, immediately tries to hand my brother the bag. My brother's hands were obviously full with his gaming stuff, dice, books, characters, minis, and so on. So tells the guy to just sit it down, which he could have done beforehand. So Ethan takes the bag and immediately puts it on someone's game mat. If you don't know, Five Guys is notorious for selling super greasy food, especially their fries. They take a cup, fill it with fries, then fill the bottom of the bag with fries. The result is a bag that is now 20% soaked in grease. And this bag was no exception. The owner of the mat is a consultant. We will call him M for Magnificent. He's a consultant for the store and helps primarily in Yu-Gi-Oh! Merchandise and tournaments as a judge. He very politely asked the guy if he could not place a super greasy bag in his stuff, and was met with a "whatever, jerk," and walked out. M immediately goes outside and asks for the dude's name so he can report him, and is promptly ignored. Ethan then gets in his car and peels out of the parking lot. Almost immediately after this, the store gets a call. And guess who it was? Ethan. The little witch called the store and immediately starts screaming at the co-manager. We will call him A for astounding, going on about how your employee was so rude and he confronted me in the parking lot. Wah, cry me a river type of nonsense. The thing is, M is not an employee. Everything Yu-Gi-Oh! Based he has done for the store is all volunteer work. A has no idea what's going on and asked Ethan if he could come back to the store to work something out, but was promptly hung up on before he could finish his sentence. M is pissed. A is confused, and I'm panicking because I think it's all my fault for asking my brother to order a DoorDash. We all thought that was it. We could get on with our lives and forget about the whole thing. That is until the police showed up. That is right. 15 minutes later, 2 police officers enter and start talking to A, then M. Apparently, Ethan called the police and said M had blocked him in the parking lot when he tried to leave in his car. A literally had to walk out the back as he was about to have a panic attack, and I wasn't sure how this would play out. But I am so pleased to be part of a gaming community so loving and caring for each other. because we closed ranks. Several witnesses, my brother and myself, spoke with Officer Cool and Officer Chill, and it was determined that Ethan is a sentient mobile pile of human refuse. We spoke and acted like mature adults and were treated as such. And Cool and Chill determined that no illegal activity had occurred. Cool even let me hold his flashlight when I asked, and the two of them were amazing. As to whether Ethan would be investigated, that remains to be seen. We did report him via the DoorDash app and with DoorDash customer service, and were told that they will look into this incident. So many people stuck up for M. We even had one guy say he would get arrested in M's place if the cuffs came out. And there may have seriously been a mini I'm a Spartacus moment. Hopefully, Ethan gets exactly what he deserves. But if he ever tries something like this with us again, honey, you've got a big storm coming. I work at a factory that makes those little plastic pieces you put in dirt to make plants. For my job, I don't operate the press, I pull products off it, measure it and put it on a pallet. There is this press operator who's extremely picky to a point where it's annoying and bothers me quite a bit. Let's call him Bob. Bob liked to take bundles of product and re-straighten it and tell me how to do tiny things that don't have any impact on the final product. Things like them not being perfectly straight, what direction I need to start a stack. From my station, the pallets go to packaging, so as long as the bundles stay the same direction, the way you start doesn't matter. Things like that, because if I mess up, it's his head. I'm contracted through a different company, so it is not his head, it's mine. My malicious compliance starts when he says I need to put the odd bundles out in the middle and not flush with the side. It doesn't. And that if I can't do it right, I should find another job. Do it how you tell me, if you insist. I started taking every bundle and re-straighten it, making sure it was perfectly flat and putting the odd bundles in the middle. We had gotten 47 out of 50 bundles done when I started fixing everything. I also double-checked that in his eyes he was the boss, and if I messed up, it was on his head, which he confirmed. He followed me back explaining that's why he was so picky even though I had told him it was on my head, and watched me move a bundle to the pile I had fixed. He gave me a confused look and asked me what I was doing, to which I replied, I'm just doing it the way you taught me. I don't want you to get in trouble. He told me that wasn't what he meant and to put them back how they were originally. To which I asked, you want them exactly how they were? And he said he did. I had gotten a few layers down and when I put them back, I put them exactly how they were. Was all but one odd bundle flush with a side. Not much has happened since. Was it pity? Yes. Was it rewarding? Also yes. At my job every day, I have to travel between two offices. I start at my main office, then have to travel to the second one, then back to my main one. Because I'm using my personal vehicle for this travel, the company pays me mileage. Well, there are basically two routes you can take between the two offices. One is about a mile round trip shorter, but has tolls. So I always took the 1 mile longer route and avoided the tolls. I did it this way for a year. Well, in comes a new bookkeeper and she's hell-bent on saving the company money. And where does she think all this wasteful money is going? Expense reports, obviously. So she starts nitpicking every report, like if someone is out and has to buy some pens for work. She goes online and finds the cheapest price possible for those pens, and only reimburses for that cheaper price. It obviously has pissed several people off. Well, she eventually decided to target me. I submit my report for 2 weeks, and a few days later get the reimbursement payment. Well, it's $5.85 short. I asked her about it, and she says I've been ripping off the company for the past year by taking the longer route between the offices. She will only pay mileage for the shorter route from now on. And I'm lucky she doesn't go back and take back all the extra money from the past year. I say okay, but please send me that per her, I must take the shorter route and that this is company policy and I leave her office. Before I even made it to my desk, I had the email from her confirming what she said. 2 weeks later, I submitted my expense report. I reported the shorter route, so the company saved $5.85. But those added up to $136, a net loss for the company of $130. It's been 6 months and I'm still taking the shorter route, costing the company an extra $130 every 2 weeks. Update: this extra cost to the company went on all last year. By my estimates, it cost the company about an extra $3,500 last year. So the third week of December, we have our annual budget review with all the department heads. It is usually just a quick chit-chat about how things went over the year. Then we all get a nice catered lunch. This year went a little different. First, Karen bookkeeper asked that we have a projector set up in the conference room so she could give a presentation on how much she has saved the company since she was hired at the beginning of the year. This was great for me. I prepared my own presentation. She starts off the meeting going over each department, going over the changes she has made to save money. Her big cherry on top of her savings was how much she has saved by cracking down on excess expense reimbursements. Now, I should say here that she is not liked by any of the department heads. Most of the employees have complained to their department heads about her bull, and they have been forced to just take the complaints with no power to do anything about it. I, on the other hand, am a one-person department. So her presentation ends with a big hooray on how cutting down on expense reimbursements has saved the company a whole $3,500 last year. Then we start going over each department's budgets. Everything is going normally until they get to my budget. Wait, why is it so far over budget? My boss asks. And this is when my short PowerPoint gets played. I bring up the first slide. It is a slightly longer route I was taking between offices. I explained this was the route I was taking and what the mileage reimbursement was. The next slide was a new shorter route. I explained that Karen forced me to take this route because the mileage reimbursement was less, saving the company about $5.85 every 2 weeks, a little more after the mileage rate went up in July. Then I showed them the next slide of Karen's email included. In that email is that a part about this being final, and there will be no further discussion on the matter. The final slide was all the total reimbursements I was paid over the year, including the approximate total YTD that was a result of this new shorter route. I explained that had I been able to discuss the matter with Karen, I could have explained that the shorter route had these extra tolls. And I said, that is the reason I'm so over budget this year. The room was silent for what seemed like forever, and the owners of the company asked everyone except Karen to step out of the room for a few minutes. When the door opened back up, Karen walked out silent, went to her desk, and started packing up her things. That was the end of Karen. Thank you for watching and see you next time.